A shooting steals 5 bright, shining lives. A loving mother, a devoted boyfriend, the self-proclaimed master of silly business. 5 lives ripped out of a community that had built a safe and joyful place where all were welcome.
The people who were in the club Saturday night, they're our friends. They're people we know.
The shooting suspect was well known to law enforcement as unstable and dangerous, yet there's no evidence they tried to take his guns. We'll look at how little that law is ever used in El Paso County. Far-right rhetoric targeting the LGBTQ community in Colorado was loud before the shooting, and it didn't stop after Coloradans were killed, leading one legislator to ask today,
what do you think is going to happen?
And your Word of Thanks microgiving campaign will start early this week as we help the victims' families and the survivors of the Club Q shooting, and we send a message that hate has no place in this state. Colorado's LGBTQ community, often under attack with words, is now reeling from an unspeakable act of violence over the weekend. 5 people killed, 17 others shot when a gunman opened fire at an LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs. Tonight, we know the names of those 5 people and a bit about why they were so loved. Ashley Paugh was a mother and a wife who adored kids, adored hers and everyone else's. Her family says she worked for Kids Crossing, a nonprofit that helps find homes for foster children. Daniel Aston worked as a bartender and entertainer at Club Q. His family says he lived to make people laugh. They called him the master of silly business.
He lit up a room. Yeah, it's this old expression, but he really did. Always smiling, always happy, and silly.
Aston's friend, Derek Rump, was also a bartender at Club Q. Friends say Rump had a huge heart, always tried to make people feel welcome and comfortable, what that place was all about.
I can pretty much be invisible anywhere I go, and he wouldn't let me be invisible. Even if I tried, he would find me and make sure I was seen. It's like he really saw who I was and wanted to show everyone else.
Raymond Green Vance was there at the club that night with his girlfriend and her family. They were all celebrating a birthday. His family says Raymond was kind and selfless. And there was Kelly Loving. According to the New York Times, she had only recently moved to Colorado, was visiting Colorado Springs for the weekend. Her sister described Kelly as caring, sweet, loved by everyone. Police say 2 people inside the bar took down the shooter. That shooter's now being held on suspicion of 5 counts of first-degree murder and 5 counts of a bias-motivated crime. Club Q offered a safe, welcoming place, a place free of judgment, a place unlike any other in Colorado Springs. Our Mark Salinger talked with Coloradans who tell us they have lost both friends and a place that they love, a place that loved them back.
We are heartbroken.
The shooting at Club Q stole so much.
The people who were in the club Saturday night, they're our friends. They're people we know.
The lives, the sense of safety, the space to feel welcome, now gone, as signs of support fill the city.
It does something to all of us psychologically, emotionally, physically, spiritually, knowing that that sanctuary has been violated in such a violent way.
Club Q was a safe space to so many in the LGBTQ community in Colorado Springs. Pastor Alicia Erickson knew it was somewhere everyone was welcome.
It's a club for people to go to where when you walk through the front door, you can be yourself, whoever you are.
The sanctuary at the Pikes Peak Metropolitan Community Church is now a place for mourning.
It's having a ripple effect far beyond the walls of Club Q into the community.
It's probably the only church in town that has pride flags and rainbow balloons around the building, a welcoming place for the LGBTQ community in a city that's now lost another safe space.
Club Q has long been a safe space for people in the LGBTQ plus community to join together with others, to have fun, to dance.
Danette Trish is a parent advocate with PFLAG, Colorado Springs. The organization is constantly working to create communities where everyone feels welcome.
We safely gather once a month in a meeting that is like a support group.
Club Q is now behind police tape. The memorial outside is swarmed with TV cameras, and a community that once felt a sense of belonging inside a nightclub.
And it's a place for people to go to feel part of a family.
Feels attacked in a place they thought was safe. Spoken with lots of people over the last couple of days who have been to Club Q in the past. Each person tells me the same thing. It was a place where you could walk in with whoever you wanted and not feel like anyone was judging. It was a place that felt welcoming for a lot of people who didn't feel welcome in other places.
And more than just a nightclub, it certainly was a nightclub at times, but this is a place where the community gathered at all hours for all kinds of different reasons.
Yeah, I've talked to people who said that they've been to fundraisers there, different events, and it was always the place where people said, hey, I want to host my event. Do you think Club Q would let me do it? And the answer was always yes. They were that type of welcoming community that was attacked.
Mark, thank you. If you need to talk to somebody anytime, there is always someone answering the phone at Colorado Crisis Services 24/7. You can call 1-844-493-8255 or text the word TALK to 38255. You can also dial 988 to reach the nationwide suicide and crisis line. And we have additional resources specific to the LGBTQ community on 9news.com. The suspect in the shooting seems exactly like why Colorado has a red flag gun law. The idea of taking firearms from somebody who has been identified as a threat to themselves or others. Because this suspect got into a standoff with officers when he threatened to blow up a home. Yet there was no effort by law enforcement to keep him from having guns. Kevin Vaughn from our 9 Wants to Know team looks at the reluctance of El Paso County's law enforcement to use that red flag gun law.
Colorado's red flag law gave judges the power to take guns away from people who were believed to be dangerous. It took effect in January 2020 with the backing of Douglas County Sheriff Tony Spurlock.
Law enforcement has seen that as another tool to utilize to save people's lives.
But others opposed the law, like El Paso County Sheriff Bill Elder.
We're not going to pursue these on our own. Meaning the sheriff's office isn't going to run over and try and get a court order. I'm not about to start that.
A 9 Wants to Know investigation found that Elder has been good to his word. During the first 2 years the measure was on the books, law officers across the state filed more than 100 red flag petitions. Not a single one was in El Paso County. The suspect in the shootings at Club Q was previously arrested after a bomb threat in June 2021. The charges were later dropped and the case sealed. But his standoff with police,
if they breach, I'm gonna blow it to holy hell,
was the kind of threat that could trigger a red flag order. But there are no records suggesting that anyone tried. Kyle, we wanted to talk to Sheriff Elder about this today, but his office did not respond to our request.
So that whole threat to blow up the house and everything else, they never ended up pressing criminal charges in that case. Would that have an impact on a red flag order?
No. We looked at many cases filed the first couple of years of the law where judges approved red flag orders where no criminal charges were filed.
And so we know that somebody, a family member or a friend or law enforcement, can go to a judge and ask for these orders. Ultimately, it's up to a judge to decide whether or not to grant them. You've looked at that situation in El Paso County as well.
That's right. I can tell you that about a third of the petitions filed in El Paso County were approved by judges. That tied for the lowest approval rate among counties that had more than 1 or 2 petitions filed.
But again, in the case of this suspected shooter, no attempt.
No attempt that we can find in the record anywhere.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Attacks on the LGBTQ community from conservative figures inside and outside Colorado have not been subtle. Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert regularly mocks trans people. Defeated Republican gubernatorial candidate Heidi Ganahl claimed kids in Colorado schools all over were identifying as cats. And there is a particularly dangerous fixation that targets drag performers. Yesterday morning, after the shooting, Libs of TikTok, a far-right Twitter account that has a history of targeting trans people, targeted a nonprofit in Colorado that helps LGBTQ youth who choose to express themselves through these shows. The tweet also mentioned by name 2 Democratic state representatives, Leslie Herod and Brianna Titone. They're both members of the LGBTQ community.
We all know very well that when you make fun of people and you bully them and you mock them and all of these different things that people do, it ends up having a negative effect on a group of people directly. And when people who are politicians and pundits who are, saying these kinds of things and repeating these tropes and villainizing a group of people, what do you think is going to happen?
There's a straight line to the hate that is spewed from political leaders, religious leaders, community leaders against LGBTQ people, especially trans youth and their families.
This mockery of the LGBTQ community is almost a badge of honor in some conservative circles. Representative Boebert tweeted back in June, take your kids to church, not drag bars. She accused the Biden administration of trying to groom children. When the LGBTQ advocacy group, the Human Rights Campaign, listed Representative Boebert as one of the 10 most popular Twitter accounts accusing LGBTQ people of grooming children, Boebert responded by saying she would tweet about it even more. There have been a number of bomb threats across the country as a result of anti-trans rhetoric, and events in Colorado have chosen to increase security out of a fear of violence. Time and time again, you have come through with love and support and generosity for Coloradans facing the unimaginable. And we can do it again for those impacted by the Club Q shooting. Your Word of Thanks microgiving campaign will begin early this week as the nonprofit Colorado Healing Fund steps in to help the victims' families and survivors of the Club Q shooting. The Colorado Healing Fund was created years ago by victims advocates in Colorado for moments just like this, when something terrible impacts our community and so many people want to help, want to give, and they want a trusted source that will be transparent and accountable about where the money goes as needs are identified and met. The Colorado Healing Fund did this after the Boulder grocery store shooting, dispersing the vast majority of donations to victims' assistance organizations to go to victims' families and survivors, and the remaining funds going to support the wider community impacted. The Colorado Healing Fund immediately moved $50,000 out the door to assist victims of the Club Q shooting right away, just as the first donations were coming in. Our donations to the Colorado Healing Fund will help meet immediate needs, funds for memorial services, medical expenses, travel costs for families, and then our donations will go to meet some later needs that perhaps haven't even been imagined by those impacted. Scan the QR code on your screen to get the link to donate, or you can find it on the next section of 9news.com or on any of our next social media accounts. As always, I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us started. Together, we can send a strong message that hate is not welcome in Colorado, that we hold the victims' families and survivors close, and that we'll do whatever we can to help them heal.
The Denver Rescue Mission backs off its plan to ban gay employees. That may not be enough to save its multi-million-dollar deal with the city. And doctors are cautiously optimistic we're nearing a turnaround in RSV cases, so long as we can get through the holiday. Next.
Police say that more lives may have been lost inside Club Q, if not for two heroes who stopped the shooter. One of those men was Richard Fierro, an Army veteran who served 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He was there watching a drag show with his family and his friends when the suspect came in and started shooting. Fierro's wife says her husband knocked the gun out of the suspect's hands, grabbed a pistol the suspect had, and beat him with it. Fierro's daughter broke her knee running for cover. Her boyfriend was Raymond Green Vance, one of the 5 people killed. Fierro spoke just a few minutes ago.
We went out to see a show and have a good time, and thank God Raymond was smiling. He was dancing with my kid, and my daughter got to spend her last day with him happy. And I needed to save my family, and that family was, at that time, everybody in that room. And that's what I was trained to do. I saw him and I went and got him.
Trained to do. Fierro received the Bronze Star for his service, which recognizes heroic achievement. The other man who helped, who we've yet to hear from, was a man named Thomas James. The Denver Rescue Mission is dropping a plan to ban LGBTQ employees after the public became aware of the policy on Friday due to some news reporting, and then the city of Denver pointed out to us today that that kind of discrimination would be a direct violation of the Rescue Mission's $8.7 million contract with the city. The Denver Rescue Mission now says it will remove new language from its employee handbook, barring employees from, quote, acting on same-sex attraction or, quote, rejecting one's biological sex. The ban was first made public by some fine reporting in Denverite. The Rescue Mission said it is now pausing implementation of the policy. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock tells us he was incredibly disappointed that the Rescue Mission would attempt to ban LGBTQ employees. The mayor says the city will now review its contracts with faith-based organizations to make sure that they're following non-discrimination clauses in those contracts. Mayor Hancock, who typically serves holiday meals at the Rescue Mission, said he won't be attending this year as a result of the nonprofit's actions. Just heard a moment ago from a spokesperson for Governor Polis, who also serves holiday meals at the Rescue Mission. He says he won't be able to attend this year due to his recent COVID positive test, but he wouldn't want to be at a place that wouldn't want him there anyway. See Councilman Robin Kniech. The first openly gay member of Denver City Council told me today that not discriminating is just the first step. She says she wants to learn more about the harm that's already occurred at the rescue mission as a result of their policies. Doctors say a week off from school might not be enough to slow the spread of RSV. They're asking people to be careful at Thanksgiving. Next. Hospitals around the state are still struggling to keep up with large numbers of RSV patients, but doctors say they hope they're close to a turning point. Children's Hospital Colorado says the rate of RSV cases is starting to decline. The rate of cases. That means we could be nearing a peak. Public health leaders have cautioned that predicting a peak is going to be hard, though, because RSV cases are soaring much earlier in the year than usual. Doctors hope that a week off from school for the kids will slow the spread of cases, but they're still asking people to be careful with large Thanksgiving gatherings. This is going to sound familiar from COVID. Doctors recommend that large family gatherings be held in larger rooms, bigger spaces, more airflow. Make sure everybody washes their hands a lot. They also say to be on the lookout for any cold or flu symptoms in kids, no matter how mild.
Now, we had a warm above average afternoon out there. Temperatures getting all the way to 55 degrees today in Denver. We saw those 40s and 50s in the high country, mid 40s out west, a little cooler there. Temperatures quickly declining, though. We're at 39 degrees right now at DIA. The eastern half of the state mostly in the upper 30s to low 40s, mid 40s across the eastern plains, 30s in the high country, 38 out in Grand Junction. So we're still seeing a pretty quiet HG Doppler radar, maybe a little bit of cloud cover pushing in from the west, but that's really not going to do too much for us. We're going to stay clear, calm, and mild overnight. Those winds staying around 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll see lows near 22 degrees. Over the next couple of days, we continue to see mild to seasonal weather. Tomorrow will be more mild than we're seasonal Wednesday. As we go into Thanksgiving, though, we do have a shortwave trough that could move its way into the area, dropping some snow in the high country. Maybe a few snowflakes across the Palmer Divide. The majority, though, are looking to stay dry for Thanksgiving. Those temperatures, though, will take a drop into the mid 40s.
How we're taking action together tonight to support the victims' families and survivors of the Club Q shooting. And your thoughts next. The Colorado Healing Fund is already at work supporting the victims' families and survivors of the Club Q shooting. And this is what that nonprofit does. They did it after the Boulder grocery store shooting, too. The first disbursement of donations has already gone out to a victims' assistance group that can give it to the families for memorial services, medical expenses, travel costs. And the nonprofit has started work with LGBTQ organizations to figure out where our donations can be best distributed to have the most targeted impact in supporting that community, both in the short term and in the longer term. If you scan that QR code on your screen, you'll get the link to donate. Or you can find that link on the next section of 9news.com or on any of our social media accounts. Sue writes in tonight about word that the Denver Rescue Mission is dropping its attempt to ban LGBTQ employees. Sue writes, as longtime donors to the Denver Rescue Mission, we appreciate the dedication to journalism bringing this to light. In full transparency, I've served holiday meals at the Rescue Mission for probably the better part of a decade, and I've politely declined this year. A lot of people are reconsidering relationships in light of what came to light over the weekend. See you next time.